Mark Levin here. After any presidential election, I take time to reevaluate my own financial investments. That's why I continue to invest in gold for help with my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're a top gold company in America, and that's who I turn to for my own gold purchases. Call them now at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit. And see if you qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. And tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Well, Pam Bondi, of course, is coming under attack. You know, as somebody who's observed these things actually for decades, I want to fill you in on a little secret. There has never been a nominee for Attorney General of the United States by a Republican president who has not been called controversial, who has not been attacked. Every single one of them has come under attack because the Democrat Party believes it owns all the bureaucracy, but especially the Department of Injustice, the Civil Division, the Criminal Division, the Civil Rights Division, the Antitrust Division, all of it, because of the enormous power that the Department of Injustice has. Take it from me. I was Chief of Staff to Attorney General Meese. I know what I'm talking about. They don't want it reformed. They like what it did to Donald Trump. They like the fact that they crossed the Rubicon with lawfare. And they want to keep it that way and subject any individual who they view as a threat to their power to the full force, the iron fist, the police state tactics of the United States Department of Injustice. That is what's going on. That is what's going on. So the Democrat Party believes it owns the bureaucracy. In fact, it does own much of the bureaucracy. It wants the 2.5 million bureaucrats there to be insulated from you and we the people, from the electorate and the voters. It doesn't want any reforms. It doesn't want any streamlining. It doesn't want any programs reduced or cut. It wants none of it. Because the Democrat Party views the fourth branch of government as essential to its monopoly power. Unaffected, immune from the electorate. Unaffected, immune from Republican administrations. That's what's going on. And the media, of course, the media, which have been around Washington, D.C. as long as anything else, they're part of the swamp. They're part of the administrative state, the ubiquitous government. They're part of it. And say they will run interference for it. And I would advise you not to watch these so-called Sunday news shows this Sunday because you won't like it. It'll upset you in the weekend before Thanksgiving. Make sure you watch my show, of course, Saturday and Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox. I don't give you angina, or as some people say, angina. I give you relief. sustenance. And so, of course, MSLSD, which continues with its radical left-wing agenda by bringing on the likes of Jamie Raskin, who's a communist Stalinist, just like his daddy was with the Institute for Policy Studies, IPS. Go ahead and Google it. Which was undermining us during the Cold War with the Soviet Union. That's the chip off the old block that Jamie Raskin comes from. So he's on MSNBC yesterday trashing Pam Bondi. Hakeem Jeffries, who's an old bomb thrower, just like his uncle. Just like his uncle. You remember Professor Jeffries and all the anti-Semitism that spewed from that foul mouth? You remember that? He was removed from his position at some college. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries, who defended his uncle back then, also attacking Pam Bondi. Then you have somebody called Jason Johnson, professor, Morgan State University. I believe he sat in for Joy Reid at one point. Could be wrong, but I think I'm right. He's a fill-in host. That's what I thought. He says you need to fear Pam Bondi if you're on the left. David Axelrod, he's still around. Still around with that stupid look on his face. That stupid look on his face is his face. He's trashing Pam Bondi. They're going right down the list, you see. So Gates is gone. Now we're going to trash Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi was Attorney General of Florida for 8 years. She had a much better record than Kamala Harris did as the Attorney General of California for 8 years. Now, of course, Pam Bondi is a woman. We conservatives, Republicans, constitutionalists, we know the difference between women and men. It's called science. It's called obvious genitalia, but the liberals and the Democrats are utterly and completely confused. But she won't get a break from the women. Say, well, she's a woman. She'd be great. No. Just like if she were black, she wouldn't get a break. Or Hispanic, she wouldn't get a break. In fact, minorities and women are feared by the Democrat Party unless they fall in line. Unless they fall in line. Pam Bondi doesn't fall in line. She was a great attorney general, a great public official. She's a great person. And they'll pick her to death. They'll pick her to death. But we will defend her. Period. We will defend her. We have a damn big voice here. We have a damn big audience here. Now, here's Jamie Raskin on MSLSD yesterday. MSLSD, you know, I read somewhere Elon Musk said, how much is it? I wouldn't waste my money. Let it go into the dustbin of history. It's a real waste of a carbon footprint. Let all the phony hosts and guests and contributors, let them struggle to find real work. Here's Jamie Raskin, Raskin the Red, Raskin the Stalinist. Hey, Jamie, if you don't agree, you can sue me, you know. And I will countersue, and I don't settle. Period. Period. But I will prove you and your father and the whole damn bunch of you what you are, who you are, get access to everything. Can't get the little bastard on the program. He's a coward. It's a coward. Coward Jamie Raskin the Red. Cut one, go.
But remember, the Attorney General himself or herself rarely appears in court.
What's this himself, herself stuff? You don't identify by himself, herself, dummy. Get with the woke program. I mean, you Marxists created it. Get with it. Go ahead. Start from the top, please.
But remember, the Attorney General himself or herself rarely appears in court. I mean, even in the Supreme Court, that's the Solicitor General. Right. So she's really presiding over the bureaucracy.
No, she's not just presiding over the bureaucracy. She's calling the shots. All the policy decisions, all the litigation decisions, all of them. That even the Solicitor General makes are her decisions. All the law enforcement decisions are her decisions. So the guy's a moron. But remember, she's just in charge of the bureaucracy. Well, she is in charge of the bureaucracy, too. Is there a problem with that? Is it okay when Republicans get elected, they're actually in charge of the bureaucracy, or are we not allowed to do that? That's Jamie's realm. He gets to do that. Jamie. I don't have a problem with the name Jamie, but it seems to me when you're like 58 years old, maybe you want to work on that. Go ahead.
That's where she'll be the key transmission belt between Donald Trump's orders and then making the bureaucracy move. And
does anyone understand what he's talking about? First of all, the transition belt, you can tell he's been under the hood a lot. Hope it's not a white one. He's the transition belt between Donald Trump's orders and then making the bureaucracy move. First of all, last time I checked, Donald Trump was elected president. You little bastard, you were elected out of some commie little congressional district in bright blue Maryland. You think you're in charge. Now, this guy's been involved in the impeachment proceedings, both of them against Trump. He's been involved in the criminal acts against Trump. He's been involved in the January 6th committee. He's a complete sleazeball. Utter, contemptible sleazeball. So Donald Trump will be in charge of how the bureaucracy is handled at the Department of Justice. Isn't that the way that's supposed to work? Yeah, I think it is. I mean, Joe Biden sent smoke signals and everything else over there to Biden. Biden, that is. Check that. Biden sent smoke signals to Garland. And what did Garland do? He unleashed the Department of Justice against Donald Trump. And he unleashed it against Steve Bannon. And he unleashed it against Navarro. And he unleashed it against, who else? Stone. Manafort. And now we're all supposed to sit back and say, it's an independent department. It's absolutely independent. Don't you know? It's independent. You're not supposed to have any control over anything. Where the hell is that written in the Constitution? Do we have an independent Department of Justice? What does that mean? It means you turn it over to all the leftists, to all the Democrats, the Marxists, the Islamists who populate the Department of Justice. You just turn it over to them and say, okay, you're in charge of law enforcement. Is that about right? No, it's not about right. You have to hold people accountable. You do it through elections. The bureaucracy is untouchable. Between the union status and the civil service status, you ever try and fire somebody in the federal bureaucracy? It takes a lifetime, and then you're overturned. The only turnover there is in the federal bureaucracy if somebody decides to retire. Now, I'm not talking about all bureaucrats, but I'm talking about a hell of a lot of them. Go ahead.
Versus what everybody at the Department of Justice is so afraid of. That
everybody, says the little Stalinist bastard. Everybody at the Department of Justice is so afraid. Well, if they're afraid, maybe they ought to be afraid. But what are you talking about, clown? How do you know everybody at the Department of Justice is afraid? Go ahead.
Wholesale abandonment of the law and the Constitution.
Now, this comes from a Marxist. Wholesale abandonment. This is the guy that said the 14th Amendment can be used to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. This is the guy that said, in terms of limiting the debt ceiling, that the president doesn't need the authority of the House of Representatives, even though the Constitution specifically gives the power of the purse to Congress and, within Congress, the House of Representatives. That's the guy. This is the guy who thought what took place in a Manhattan courtroom, a violation of due process and equal protection under the 14th Amendment of the federal Constitution, is just fine. No problem whatsoever. But now we're worried about, you see, the abandonment of the law and the Constitution. I am so confused. I thought the Constitution was written by white slaveholders. I thought the Constitution is an old and dead document. I thought you need to breathe life into the Constitution. It needs to be living and breathing and needs to be changed and updated by activist judges. I thought the Constitution, we needed to overcome aspects of the Constitution, separation of powers, the Electoral College, the independence of the Supreme Court. That's his agenda. That's their agenda. But don't worry. He wants you to follow the Constitution. Which Constitution? What Constitution? What does he have in mind? We know what he has in mind. This guy's a bum. Period. Go ahead.
Basically become like the Donald Trump law firm.
The Donald Trump law firm. So there he is, spewing for about a minute on MSLSD, saying absolutely nothing intelligent, factual, substantive. Now, once again, nationally, publicly, we've tried it quietly. We've tried it through contacts to his office. Mr. Raskin, please come on my radio show, or come on my Blaze show, or come on my Fox show. I want to debate you. I want to confront you. I want to expose you. Now get off your little ass and let's do it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It's lowered interest rates by a quarter. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Now, Jamie the Red, little Stalinist Raskin, he's not the only one. We have Hakeem Jeffries. Now, I could have sworn he said last week we need to do things in a bipartisan way, and we're available if we can meet halfway to do things in a bipartisan way. So, of course, President Trump's going to nominate now Pam Bondi, now that Gates has withdrawn. But that's not good enough for Mr. Hakeem Jeffries, who tolerates Tlaib and Omar, who tolerates AOC, and all kinds of anti-Semitic racist bigots within his caucus. No, it's Pam Bondi he has a problem with. Well, I should do what the Democrats do, Mr. Producer, in America. You know what it is? They hate women. They hate strong women. They hate professional women. They hate competent women. They hate women with experience. That's right. They're misogynist pigs. That's right. Did you know that? Oh, yes, over there at MSNBC, that's right. Over there at The View with the 5 pathetic yentas who've accomplished not a damn thing in their lives, who sit on their tuchuses and whine and complain like a bunch of left-wing kooks. That's right. That's good TV, I understand. No. But there's Hakeem Jeffries. If we can work together, you know, we meet them halfway. Shut up, you idiot. You don't want to work with anybody. That's right. You'll do anything for it to become Speaker of the House. You're desperate. But Pam Bondi, she's a problem. Joy Behar. Talk about a slob. I mean, honestly, America, she's a slob. Cut 2, go.
Okay, so now we have this other woman, Pam Bondi.
You see, America? You see, all you women out there in the suburbs, some of you who are taken by, abortion. All you women out there. Do you see how they hate you if you don't go in line with them, if you're not a Marxist Islamist? If you're not a kook? They don't like women. Look at all the women who've been sold into sex slavery on the southern border. Do they even talk about that on The View? No, not a word. Nothing. Tell me, what has Hakeem Jeffries done about it? Nothing. Jamie Raskin? Nothing. They don't like women. They hate women. That's why if you're a woman, they're destroying your sports. That's right, Title IX. That's why if you're a woman, we can't call you a woman. That's right. That's why if you're a woman, a.k.a., may I say, if you have a vagina, you really don't. We can't tell the difference. It's amazing to me, these so-called women's groups, the really left-wing Marxist groups, still back these punks. We'll get back to Hakeem Jeffries in a moment. I'll be right back. The markets are volatile. They're shooting up wildly only to drop without warning. The Fed just cut rates yet again, this time by a quarter point. Why? Because the Federal Reserve is not confident the economy is strong. In fact, last month only 12,000 jobs were created, all of them in the government. That's why I'm telling you again, diversification is crucially important. And diversification with gold is what I do. And the company I use, and I've used many, the best one is Advantage Gold. Call them now at 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how gold gold can help you diversify your investments and take advantage now. Now, gold has been helping to protect and grow wealth for people for thousands of years. And in these times, it can be more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America. They're who I turn to when I purchase gold. Call them now, 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000 now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help you with your investment portfolio, a.k.a. your bank accounts, your paycheck. And when you do, you could qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Folks, don't wait. Call them now, 800-900-8000, and tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's driving the media mad. Mark Levin, call in with your outrage. 877-381-3811.
Scott Bessent, B-E-S-S-E-N-T, is President Trump's, or will be, nominee for Treasury Secretary. I don't pretend to know who this guy is. It's not my lane. But got to be better than this Yellen, don't you think? This Yellen, who could barely speak, who could barely think. Hello. She had a little Biden in her, you know. In other words, I think a lot of her mind was yesterday, not today. And I don't say that to make fun of people generally, but you shouldn't be Treasury Secretary or President of the United States if you're not with it. It's that simple. The American people, we're the issue, not them. That is, what's in the best interest of the country, not what's in the best interest of an individual. Back to Hakeem Jeffries, ladies and gentlemen, who really wants to work with the Republicans. We know he does. That's what his caucus wants. We know that, too. Oh, yeah. Tlaib, Omar, AOC. And that's just three. There's others, too. They want to work with the Republicans. Yes, very well. They want to see success with the House Republicans, with the Congress and the President, Donald Trump. They want to help. And so Pam Bondi, you see. Ladies and gentlemen, Pam Bondi is a traditional conservative. She will follow the law and the Constitution. On the other hand, there are policies that President Trump is pushing, and she will support those too. And she will try to streamline the Department of Justice, have to undo all the damage that was done to the Department of Justice under 4 years of communist rule, and have to hold people accountable who were involved in usurping the Constitution and trying to take out a former president. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But Hakeem Jeffries is not happy about it, and neither is Joy Behar. Bang, bang. Cut to, go.
Okay, so now we have this other woman, Pam Bondi.
We have this other woman. Look how she dismisses her. She couldn't hold a candle to Pam Bondi. Tell me, what the hell has Joy Behar done? Failed radio host. Now she's on The View. We got basically a chorus line of morons. Good job, ABC. And by the way, did you know The View? Joe Concha told me this. Did you know The View is placed under the news part of ABC News? Did you know that? It's not even entertainment, Mr. Producer. It's considered a news program. Well, the news is they suck. Go ahead.
Yeah, Renee? Yeah. What do you think of her?
Well, I think her record should be scrutinized. I mean, this is someone who's been nominated now to be the top law enforcement officer in the United States of America.
Right.
She's got some law enforcement credentials, clearly, as the Attorney General in the state of Florida. There are concerns that I think Sonny and others have raised reasonably. People within the Congress will raise in terms of her election denial history.
Yeah.
But that's a record that will be scrutinized, and we'll see what happens.
And your role exactly in the nomination process is zero. That's right. Advise and consent. That's with the Senate. So you don't matter. And by the way, Sonny is not sunny. She's dreary. Sonny's a lawyer, right, Mr. Producer? Was she a slip and fall lawyer? What kind of lawyer was she? Do we know? Personal injury, maybe? Hello? Hi, there's an accident. Hey, here's my card. Anyway, then we have Jason Johnson, who's a typical fill-in for Joy Reid. And he's a professor at Morgan State University, so he must be smart. He's a professor. What does he think about Pam Bondi? And by the way, I don't really give a damn what any of them think. I'm just exposing them to you because nobody's watching MSNBC. Literally, Nobody. I'd like to know what the View's ratings have been. I mean, I assume even some of the clapping seals aren't watching anymore. Cut 3, go.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her.
Wait a minute. Ooh. A competent woman attorney for Attorney General, so we should fear her. Do I have this straight? Professor Jason Johnson? Do I have this straight? So we need to fear her. Now, Hakeem Jeffries said, election denier. Raskin says, no. She'll just carry Trump's bag. Now, the third one, Jason Johnson. No, she's competent. We have to fear her. You see, they're throwing mud against the wall. Shotgun tactics. They want to smear her. Go ahead.
She actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states.
No, slow down there, bro. Slow down. Think you're Chris Matthews? Florida enforces the law. Law and justice and freedom. But didn't you just use those phrases or something akin to that? That's right. It's called the law. Duly passed by Congress, signed by previous presidents of both parties. What are you all freaking out about? We know what you're all freaking out about. Your revolution was well underway. You had a dementia-ridden president. You had an incompetent, buffoonish vice president. The massive bureaucracy was loaded with leftists, Marxists, Islamists. You're pushing your agenda, your foreign policy agenda against the state of Israel, your domestic agenda against the state of America. That's right. And now comes along the American people by a landslide who say, now, you know what the hell you're doing? We're not putting up with this. And so you're going to attack everything and anything that's in front of you. This is why MSNBC needs to go away. It needs to go away, or maybe it can find a home at Pravda in Russia or Al Jazeera in Qatar. Go ahead.
Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses.
Hey, slow down, bro. They're not curtailing students and what they can do on campus. They're curtailing teachers and what they can do to students. Is that what you're trying to say? In other words, the governor of Florida has said no pornography in our public school libraries, no propaganda as an excuse and in lieu of teaching. This has you very upset, doesn't it, Professor Jason Johnson? May I call you JJ? Go ahead.
Legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous...
Manipulating education money. Does he even know what the hell he's talking about? I don't know what the hell he's talking about. She's dangerous. An effective pick. Go ahead.
Effective pick. And that's, frankly, worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Oh, a deplorable moral background, huh? It's possible. And I bet you voted for people with deplorable moral backgrounds. I bet you supported Ted Kennedy. I bet you supported Joe Biden and his deplorable moral background. Tara Reid is in Russia today to escape Joe Biden and the wrath of his reach. She said he molested. Oh, wait, come on now. Deplorable moral background. I bet you voted. I bet you voted for Kamala Harris, which would include the first husband. They call him Hands, I think, who slapped a woman in broad daylight. Well, actually, it was evening. Who came forward, didn't give her name, a professional, another professional woman. Ooh, you Democrats hate them, unless, of course, they're radical kooks like you. He didn't have a problem with Dougie Emhoff, did he? Didn't have a problem with Bill Clinton. I bet he voted for him, too. No, they're all great. Great. And, of course, there's Tampon Tim, who's got all kind of freak show stuff going on in his background, quite frankly. But so now we have Jamie Raskin. The problem is she's the transmission belt to Donald Trump's orders on the bureaucracy. Then we have Hakeem Jeffries. She's an election denier. Hakeem, you're an election denier. Your party's an election denier. Mr. Raskin, your buddy's an election denier. 3 times straight with the Electoral College. Come on, get with the program. And then we have Jason Johnson. The problem is she's competent. So she's competent, she's an election denier, and she's a transmission belt. Let's see, what else? David Axelrod. There's a man who looks like he was hit in the face with a shovel. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Producer? A big snow shovel, and it's never worn off. Now, he's on the Constipated News Network. I would think he'd be one of those who's fired. Why? Because he's useless. He's just an Obama mouthpiece. What did he have to say about Pam Bondi? Cut 4, go.
You know, my recollections of Pam Bondi were of leading the lock her up chance at the 2016.
All right, let's slow down a second. Does everybody on their side have to be utterly mindless and inarticulate? I'm just curious. She was leading the lock her up chance? Really? The lock her up chance? Okay. Was she part of the white segregationist movement in the 1970s like Joe Biden? I don't think so. How about your man, Obama? Was she part of a pro-Islamist movement? Professor Khalidi? Yes? Like your man, Obama? Did she go to a church with somebody like Jeremiah Wright and the filth that he was spewing? I'm just curious. Was she mentored by a communist like your man, Obama? I'm just curious. I just want to know. Oh, you see, she chanted, lock her up. Now that's disqualifying. Lock her up. As they're trying to lock up Donald Trump, you see. See, they're really at the bottom of the barrel, these people. And that's where they live, the bottom of the barrel. The lowest point on earth. This is where they live. This is where they work together and share little fortune cookie ideas with each other. Yes. Don't you understand? She chanted, lock them up. She's disqualified. While they're trying to lock up Trump, literally. Go ahead.
Republican convention and of being in every way a political actor on behalf of Donald Trump.
So what? What the hell was Eric Holder? Dummy. Moron. What the hell was Eric Holder? Basically, Eric Holder even announced that he's Barack Obama's right-hand man. That's what he is. It's what he said. Oh, lock her up? Oh, my God. That's the squad. So now we have, just to summarize, she's a transmission belt for Donald Trump. She's an election denier. She's too damn competent. And she was seen saying, lock her up. Wow. I don't know, Mr. Producer. This could be a tough one. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It's lowered interest rates by 1/4. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. They don't have anything on Pam Bondi. And if they find, quote-unquote, something, it won't be anything that matters, period. They just have a problem with the fact that she's not a Democrat Party sycophant. As if that's who Donald Trump would nominate to be the Attorney General of the United States. They don't really have anything on Pete Hegseth either. Somebody accused him of something, as I understand it. I haven't talked to him. And legally it didn't go anywhere, but they don't care. Pete Hegseth is exactly the man that's needed to help reform the Pentagon. This man has 2 Bronze Stars. He's a combat veteran in 2 theaters, Iraq and Afghanistan. And you have people throwing mud balls at the guy, shooting spitballs at the guy who couldn't hold a candle to him. They don't like what he wrote in his book about how you reform the Pentagon. They don't like the fact that he said he would have fired Milley, and Milley should have been fired. They don't like the fact that he's a reformer who believes in a strong defense, strong national security, rejects the wokeism and DEI that is now infesting the Pentagon. He's young, he's dynamic, he's brilliant, he's motivated, he's got energy. Exactly what the Democrats don't want. Exactly what they don't want. I am 100% behind Pete, 100% behind Bondi. I'm behind all of them. All of them. And good news, I see that, in fact, Donald Trump was not and never has been considering Mike Rogers, to be FBI director. It would have been a disaster, in my humble opinion. He's the definition of establishment ruling class. He's one of, quote unquote, them. And he would have flown through with Democrat support. That's why I'm a little skeptical when we have a nominee here and there where I haven't heard a single Democrat criticize him. I won't bring up his name again, but you know who I mean, Mr. Producer. Not one Democrat. Oh, they'll come out of the woods at some point, don't get me wrong. Now we're going to get to hear from, when we come back, we're going to get to hear from Mark Milley and his view of Hegseth. Mark Milley, who really should have resigned in shame after what he led, the disaster, the surrender in Afghanistan. And he writes this book, which sold about 14 copies, all to Democrats in the media. Yes, some of them can read. And attacks his former commander-in-chief. I don't know what it is with these new generals. Kelly, Mattis, this clown Milley. I don't know what it is. But the idea that you leave the military and then you think that you have the right to talk about confidences, to give your opinions and all the rest, that's a disgrace. That's an absolute disgrace. Actually, if we have time, Mr. Producer, let's listen to Milley now. Actually, we don't have time. We're going to have to take a break. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I can read the clock, sometimes I can't. We'll be right back, and I want you to hear what this guy has to say, and I will deal with it. We'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. It'd be me, myself, and I, all three of us. Mark Levin. Our number is 877-381. Well, we don't know if we have the phones fixed, do we, Mr. Producer? Maybe today, unfortunately, we'll have to hold off on the phones, and we can send, a pigeon or smoke signals to Westwood One to get that phone system up and running. After all, it is called Conservative Talk Radio. Even though I don't take a ton of callers, every now and then we like to, but we like to make sure the phones are working. May I say that? I think I did. Mark Milley is the disgraced former chief of staff of our military, the number one dog. He's now with something called the Palace Foundation. God knows what that means. In my view, he's a disgrace. I don't know his military history. I'm sure he's done very heroic things, but as the head of the Joint Chiefs, he was a disgrace. And when you're told to do something you shouldn't do, you resign. But he didn't resign. Why? Because he's a disgrace. That surrender in Afghanistan cost the lives of red-blooded Americans, cost the lives of Americans who are still kidnapped over there, and we don't even talk about them. Nobody cares about them. Cost the lives of real allies who put their lives on the line to work with us to defeat the Taliban. God knows what's happened to them and their families. But don't worry, Mark Milley's a favorite of the media. Well, of course he is. And so they ask him to give his opinion of Pete Hegseth. Why? I have no idea. Well, yes, I do. Just the conga line, cut 5, go.
Every single Secretary of Defense has come in with the idea of, quote-unquote, reforming the Pentagon. It is extraordinarily difficult. And it takes, in my view, first of all, it takes mature leadership, and it takes an alliance, or an alignment, I should say, between the Hill, the senators and congressmen up on the Hill who passed the laws.
Let's stop. So in other words, it takes an alliance with the very people who are the problem, who've created the bureaucracy, who've created the non-responsiveness of the bureaucracy, who need to be reformed. And you see, if Hegseth isn't one of them and doesn't come from them and doesn't work with them, then reform's impossible. Excuse me? That's why you're a loser, you big jerk. That's why you're a loser. Go ahead.
Is come in with a wrecking ball and just blow things apart.
He didn't say he's coming in with a wrecking ball to blow things apart. This is the guy's problem. This is the guy's problem. Go ahead.
Is rubble. And if that's what you want, that's awesome if you want rubble. But that's not going to defend the United States.
Now, you know what? You're so full of crap, rambling on like a buffoon. You sound like one of these liberal kooks on MSNBC. In fact, I don't know where he did this, but maybe it was on MSNBC. I don't know. Oh, a Palace Foundation event. Pallas. I'm sure that was well attended. So here he's got a young man, Pete Hegseth, who served his nation admirably, who gets 2 Bronze Stars. He's a combat veteran in 2 theaters, Afghanistan and Iraq. A young man who went to the best schools in the country and yet served the military, who wrote a really remarkable book, who is a self-made man. And he has nothing positive to say about the guy. Absolutely nothing. Zero. Nothing. And then he makes all these assumptions. Pete Hegseth isn't going to blow up the place. He's not interested in getting quote-unquote rubble. And so they're trying to take out Pete Hegseth. Well, we support him strongly here. Then we have Andrew McCabe trashing Kash Patel. You see how it works? Every patriot who's associated with Donald Trump, every patriot who'll be loyal to the commander-in-chief, which is their damn job if they're appointed by him, every patriot who really has an opportunity, perhaps, to make serious reforms and changes where we need them. They're all under attack. The go-along types, they're not under attack. They have bipartisan, bisexual support, I understand, Mr. Producer. Now we have Andrew McCabe. Wasn't the problem with this guy is that he lied to investigators? If I'm wrong, I'll correct it. He can come on. We'll fix it. But that's my recollection. Wasn't he a leaker? Something to that effect? I'm trying to remember. He won back his back pay. I know that. He's not going to face charges, they said, NBR. The inspector general looked into him. That he lied, that's it, to investigators about a leak to the media. That's what it was. So this is a man, obviously, of high standards. Media high standards. Here he is. The number 2 guy, the deputy director of the FBI, lying to investigators about a leak. Well, that's the kind of guy we want. So, on CNN today, they asked him about Kash Patel. Kash Patel, he wasn't found to have lied to anybody. Guy's a former prosecutor. He's a stand-up guy. See, what Donald Trump is doing is he's picking individuals who are not part of the massive bureaucracy. He's picking individuals who've had experience in the bureaucracy, who have substantive resumes. But you see, the ruling class in Washington, D.C., whether it be at the high ranks of the military, the high ranks of law enforcement, whether it be in the media, whomever it is, this is a cabal. I said this election was between the ruling class and we the people. I noticed that some of the miscreants and malcontents have regurgitated that. That's all right. That's why I call them backbenchers. But you get the point. It's against an ineffective, incompetent, self-serving, self-aggrandizing ruling class, enriching itself, empowering itself against we the people. We the people won. And so our candidate, Donald Trump, is trying to nominate individuals who reflect what we want. And so they come under attack by whom? The ruling class. Andrew McCabe, former FBI deputy director. The Department of Justice decided that they weren't going to go after him, but he did what he did. He did what he did. The Inspector General said that he lied to investigators about a leak to the media. And what was he leaking to the media? He was trying to smear Trump and Trump world. That's why he's the deputy director of the FBI, for God's sakes. Now we need his opinion, you see. He's a character witness. Now we need his opinion on Kash Patel. Well, of course. Just like we need John Dean's opinion on legal issues. Why not? Cut 6, CNN, go.
No part of the FBI's mission is safe with Kash Patel in any position of leadership in the FBI, and certainly not in the deputy director's job. So just
and this comes from you, you schmuck. From you, you jerk. You good for nothing. You leaked and you lied. According to the Inspector General, according to NPR, according to all these reports, you leaked and you lied. And now you're telling us that Kash Patel shouldn't be in any senior position at the FBI. Why? Did he leak and he lie? No. Because the enshrined bureaucracy, the ruling class, thinks it has a lifetime right to these positions and to these departments. And they don't. And shame on CNN, the constipated news network, bringing this clown on. Bringing this clown on. Go ahead.
As an example, the deputy director job in the FBI is unique because, of course, the director is a political appointee, and the deputy director is typically a senior FBI agent, somebody who spent their entire career. I
have to say, I don't know if it's director or deputy director. I don't know what he's talking about. Maybe he knows more about it than we do. But that said, how good have these career deputy director of the FBI been in recent decade or two? They were great when I was there. They were honorable. They were patriotic. They did their jobs. They didn't take sides. But you, Mr. McCabe, you among others, you broke that policy. You broke that tradition. And now for you to go there and tell us that the deputy director needs to be a career person, not a political appointee, when you're practicing politics the way you did and the way so many in the senior FBI offices there did, we don't need career people practicing politics, do we? Now, I don't know who the president's going to pick. It's up to the president. But if he picks Kash Patel, that would be a fantastic pick. And maybe he has others in mind, too. That's fine. But look how they're coming out of the woodwork. Look how they're coming out of the woodwork like the cockroaches that they are. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, have you ever thought about what charities and causes you give your hard-earned money to? Pure Talk, my cell phone company, supports veterans. As a veteran-led company, that's their passion project. And that's why Pure Talk has slashed $10 million in veteran debt. That's why they donate tens of thousands of dollars every month to help prevent veteran suicide. That's why they donate $50,000 to Micro Works, providing scholarships to veterans learning the trades after active duty. Now, isn't that a company you can get behind? Time to jump ship from these other three guys. There's a better option. Pure Talk gives you the same great coverage, America's most dependable 5G network, for half the cost. And you'll be supporting a company that is helping our vets. It's a win-win. Dial pound 250. Say keyword Mark Levin. You'll be connected to Pure Talk's U.S. call center. That's right. They invest in American jobs to better serve you. And remember, they're half the price of the big three. Go to puretalk.com/Levin today. That's puretalk.com/LEVIN. Switch to a company that invests in American jobs to better serve you. Again, go to puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company. Now for something a little different. Riverside Unified School District, I'm guessing that's in California. Riverside, California. Maybe there's another Riverside. And hat tip right scoop. Here's a student at Riverside Unified School District meeting yesterday. And the student has a problem with men in the locker room. Wow. You know, it used to be, ladies and gentlemen, if men went into a locker room for ladies or girls, they'd get arrested. They used to be called perverts. But they'd get arrested. They'd have a criminal record. Today they have civil rights, you see. Excuse me, I'm transitioning. Excuse me. You still have that thing between your legs. You still have hair all over your chest. You still have a beard. You might be transitioning between your ears, but between your legs, it's the same damn thing, brother. Oh, no, you don't understand. You must be anti-this. You must be anti-that. Yeah, I am. Do what you want, but stay out of my kid's locker room and stay out of the shower. What do you think? The insanity that's taking place in the name of civil rights, in the name of liberty, it's all BS. And so they are. Students at Riverside Unified School District meeting. And here's a student speaking up. Cut 12, go.
I'm a student at Martin Luther King High School, and I run on the cross-country team. So I'm constantly affected by these actions that have taken place this season. And I have been around the females and just my team in general who have felt almost silenced to speak out about it because the whole LGBTQ is shoved down our throats. It is put in our face. And we live in a society where it is almost impossible to speak out on it without facing the repercussions of it. And I went myself to have a discussion with the head of the athletic director when nobody really felt comfortable enough to speak out. And I don't think it's fair, knowing Caitlin and knowing Taylor, to see their spots getting taken away, to see all these things being jeopardized for one person. It feels as though that my school and the school district is choosing to support one person instead of the whole team and the whole school as a total. Like, it's not fair. It's not okay. I try my best not to put personal beliefs into it, but seeing this first-handedly, seeing my teammates getting their spots taken for one person that's choosing to be a girl, it's not okay. I've done my research. I've looked into the CIF rules, and I've looked into the NCAA rules, two completely different things. And when I went into this meeting with the athletic director, I knew that. I knew that going into it, that teachers and coaches and people in the office can't speak on personal opinion. And then to see the athletic director turn around and tell my teammates that their shirts that say Save Girls Sports be compared to a swastika, that is not okay. These girls feel silenced, they felt silenced, and when they finally spoke out and did something to go against it and speak out, not directed towards a single person at all, they were completely stabbed in the back by the person that we were told would support us and be able to help us through this. They said that it was a hate crime, that they were targeting that one person, and that is not the case at all. Taylor and Caitlin are two of the most nice people I've ever met in my life, and to see them having to be told that they're being hateful people is not okay. And it is not okay that I have to be in a position where I'm going to practice and having to see a male in booty shorts and having to see that around me. As a 16-year-old girl, I don't find that as a safe environment. I don't at all. And going into a locker room and seeing males in there, I don't find that safe. I don't find going to the bathroom safe when there's guys in there. It's not okay. I'm a 16-year-old girl. There's girls around me where we do not feel safe having boys in our environment. And it isn't okay. It isn't okay to have them on our team. It isn't okay when it's the genetics.
There must be something horribly wrong with you and your upbringing, young lady. How sick is the educational bureaucracy in the teachers' unions, America? How sick that this poor girl, 16, and by the way, brave, articulate, God bless her, has to say the obvious, has to say the truth. This is what's being driven by the Democrat Party and the Marxists. This is outrageous. They are destroying girls' sports, women's sports. And no, girls and women should not have to put up with this. Now, you and I, we who believe that they shouldn't have to put up with this, it just so happens that we are consistent with tens of thousands of years of human experience and history. That we are consistent with actual biological science. That these other people are friggin' nuts. Now, if somebody wants to have an operation or a medical change of their gender and so forth, go for it. But no, they should not have special rights and special privileges that allow them in the opposite sex's bathroom or locker room or sports. Period. That's it. No more debate. This isn't a civil rights issue. Jason Ray Morrow is a parent. It's like a biker guy, by the way, at the Riverside Unified School District meeting. Cut 13, go.
How are you guys? I'm Jason Ray Morrow. That was my daughter. I'm standing arm in arm with my daughter. I drop my daughter off every day. I pick her up every day. There's girls changing in the parking lot. I see that. I'm 42 years old. Do I need to see that? Those are 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 15-year-old kids. I'm a grown-ass man. I don't need to see none of that. They should be in their own locker room. But there's a little boy that's making my daughter feel uncomfortable. I'm only here to stand arm in arm with my daughter. You know what I mean? And I shouldn't have to be up here like this. I'm showing up. I'm showing you guys my skirt right now. What's under my skirt? Pretty much, you guys just see me under my helmet, out and about. I'm that guy. I shouldn't have to be up here protecting my daughter. You guys need to politic less, protect more. Politic less, teach more. That's what I'm asking of you guys. You guys are elected. You know what I mean? You guys are elected. If we held a vote right now, you guys would probably all be out of a job. So that's all I got to say, man. You guys disgust me.
It's a biker dude. And let me tell him, they disgust everybody. Jason Ray Morrow, great parent, great daughter. They speak for, I bet, the vast majority of the American people, the people who voted for Donald Trump. No, we don't believe in discriminating. No, we don't believe in any of that. We believe in what's right, what's moral. We believe in science, biological science. I'll be right back. Folks, have you ever thought about what charities and causes you give your hard-earned money to? Pure Talk, my cell phone company, supports veterans. As a veteran-led company, that's their passion project. And that's why Pure Talk has slashed $10 million in veteran debt. That's why they donate tens of thousands of dollars every month to help prevent veteran suicide. That's why they donate $50,000 to Micro Works, providing scholarships to veterans learning the trades after active duty. Now, isn't that a company you can get behind? Time to jump ship from these other three guys. There's a better option. Pure Talk gives you the same great coverage, America's most dependable 5G network, for half the cost. And you'll be supporting a company that is helping our vets. It's a win-win. Dial pound 250. Say keyword Mark Levin. You'll be connected to Pure Talk's U.S. call center. That's right. They invest in American jobs to better serve you. And remember, they're half the price of the big three. Go to puretalk.com/Levin today. That's puretalk.com/LEVIN. Switch to a company that invests in American jobs to better serve you. Again, go to puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
Mark Levin, making conservatism great again. Dial in now, 877-381-3811.
I want to engage further in this issue of the Department of Defense and Pete Hegseth. Daniel Horowitz over at The Blaze has written, "Motherhood is the foundation of all civilization. a movement determined to dismantle society would inevitably target women's femininity, to disrupt the natural male-female dynamic, leaving behind an androgynous, gender-blurring culture that struggles to reproduce itself. In other words, the culture we largely see today. And this explains why the far left is so fixated on advancing the so-called women in combat agenda, and why Trump's nomination of Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense has left leftists furious and discombobulated. The media's predictable criticism of Hegseth's credentials, persona, and ideology began the moment Trump selected him to lead the Pentagon. That's right. To lead the Pentagon. And he goes on. It's a great piece. So I encourage you to get a copy of it or to go online and read it. And there's another great piece, and it's in National Review. Now, they haven't done a very good job on recess appointments and some of the legal stuff, but they did a good job on this. It's by Mac Thomas Owens. The U.S. military wants to maintain its standing with the American people. Its leadership needs to display more or some moral courage. Excuse me. I must confess, he writes, that I did not have Pete Hegseth as Donald Trump's pick for defense secretary on my bingo card. I was aware that he was a regular on Fox. I wasn't really familiar with him. Of course, Hegseth has been criticized for his lack of qualifications. He's also being subjected to the obligatory charge of sexual misconduct, a la Brett Kavanaugh. Whether this will derail his nomination remains to be seen, but there's a strong case to be made for him and someone like him. It is undeniable that Hegseth lacks the sort of background one might expect of the person who's meant to run the largest bureaucracy in the world with a budget of $841 billion. Well, they've done a god-awful job of doing it. 7 years in a row, an audit finds tens of billions missing. But in addition, he's not a member of the national security clerisy, from which so many past SecDevs have been drawn. But he's not without accomplishments. He has served extended periods on active duty as a commissioned officer in the National Guard. He's multiple deployments under his belt and holds the Combat Infantryman Badge, which recognizes the unique contribution of the infantry soldier, whose mission is to close with and destroy the enemy. He was twice awarded the Bronze Star Medal, and for those who are impressed with academic credential, he holds 2 degrees from Ivy League schools. Hegseth has the qualities necessary to address what I believe to be the most critical problems that the Pentagon faces today. Number 1, the lack of accountability on the part of senior officers. And 2, the weakening of the American defense establishment's commitment to the marital virtues and military ethos. First, it seems abundantly clear that accountability has been missing in the U.S. military for some time. Recently, a Marine officer was court-martialed for social media posts, which he demanded a reckoning after 13 service members were killed in a suicide bombing at the Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul. We remember that, right, Mr. Milley? During the disastrous U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Appearing in uniform on multiple occasions, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller demanded answers from political and military leaders. But as one Army officer observed during the early phases of Operation Iraqi Freedom, quote, as it now stands, private who loses a rifle suffers far greater consequences than the general who loses a war. And the Wall Street Journal recently published an article that claims the Trump transition team has drafted an executive order that would create a board to purge generals, which, if enacted, could fast-track the removal of flag and general officers found to be lacking in requisite leadership qualities. Now, although the article goes on to claim that some view this as an attempt to politicize the military, given the president-elect's vow to fire woke generals, it is in keeping with pre-World War II plucking board established by Army Chief of Staff George Marshall to review officers' records and, quote, remove from line promotion any officer for reasons deemed good and sufficient. The goal, of course, was to remove dead wood in order to make room for younger and more capable officers. And by the way, this is really important what President Trump's trying to do. He talks about Marshall. Lincoln did the same thing. Yes, there's dead wood. The second and more fundamental problem is that too many of the government in general and the Pentagon in particular seem to have forgotten the purpose of the U.S. military. We ask our military to do many things beyond soldiering, but its primary purpose remains what Samuel Huntington, in his classic study of U.S. civil-military relations, The Soldier and the State, called its functional imperative, to fight and win wars. The foundation of this functional imperative is military ethos, which underpins unit cohesion and thereby military effectiveness, and fosters trust among soldiers, between superiors and subordinates, and at the social level between soldiers and citizens. It has long been an article of faith that to execute its functional imperative on behalf of the nation, the military of necessity must maintain an identity distinct from the liberal society. Indeed, a democratic republic faces a paradox. The military cannot govern itself in accordance with the democratic principles of society at large. If the military fails, the society it protects won't survive. And long experience has taught us that certain kinds of behavior are destructive of good order, discipline, and morale, without which a military organization will certainly fail. The goal of military policy must be victory on the battlefield, a purpose that cannot be in competition with any other, including the provision of entitlements, equal opportunity, diversity, and so forth. Indeed, the battlefield mocks diversity. Unfortunately, many of those in positions of responsibility, including far too many senior members of the military itself, right, Milley, seem to have forgotten this imperative. This attitude is the result of another set of social forces that Huntington called the societal imperative. That is, the social forces, ideologies, and institutions dominant within society, which tends to undermine the martial virtues and military ethos. Huntington was concerned that, in the long run, the social imperative would prevail over the functional imperative, thereby undermining military effectiveness, and that's exactly what's going on now. According to Huntington, when the external threat was low, those who favored the societal imperative sought extirpation, the virtual elimination of military forces. When the external threat was higher, they pursued a policy of transmutation, that is, refashioning the military along liberal lines by stripping it of its particularly military characteristics. Today, the U.S. military's submission to ideology of diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, we have transmutation on steroids. Indeed, diversity now seemingly trumps battlefield effectiveness as the goal of the military policy, right, Milley? But the Pentagon's attempts to address an alleged lack of diversity in the ranks can worsen the situation because identity politics, which suggests that justice is a function of attributes such as sex and skin color rather than individual excellence, tends to divide people rather than unify them. This undermines military effectiveness, which depends on cohesion born of trust among those who operate together. For most of American history, U.S. military leadership understood and stood up for the military ethos, explaining to fellow citizens why it's critical to its effectiveness. It is in large part for this reason the military has remained one of the most respected institutions in America. But now the commitment to DEI at all costs is the party line within the Pentagon. No one wants to be accused of racism or sexism. Therefore, too many officers hold their tongues as the rank and file are indoctrinated by DEI and the like. Those who don't can find themselves sacked. Many distinguished men have held the position of SecDef, but even some with the most sterling credentials, such as James Forrestal, Robert McNamara, Les Espin, Donald Rumsfeld, have fallen short of success. Each of these individuals face different problems. The more successful were able to adapt to the circumstances, whether these involve changes in the security environment, developments in technology, or the availability of resources. The problem that today's military faces is different and requires a correspondingly different sort of Secretary of Defense. Hegseth fits the bill. He can start by insisting on accountability of senior officers and demanding that the officer corps renew its commitment to the military ethos and the foundation of professionalism. The unfortunate fact is that although the U.S. military claims to be professional, it acts like just another self-interested bureaucracy. Officers owe it to their... Isn't this what Milley sounded like? Officers owe it to their profession, and more importantly, to the American people, to subject themselves to the demands of accountability. Equally important is that they say publicly what most say privately. that bending the military ethos to the demands of DEI undermines military effectiveness, and this will lead inexorably to a disaster on some future battlefield. And if the U.S. military wants to maintain its standing with the American people, its leadership needs to display some moral courage. And perhaps Hegseth can help provide the requisite backbone. This fellow Owens is a veteran himself. He's also a military expert. He writes about it all the time. And now you know why they want to take out Pete Hegseth. And now you know why they use the sex thing like they did against Kavanaugh. Hegseth is a stand-up guy. He can do a great job at the Pentagon. I understand the ruling class doesn't want him, whether they be civilian or whether they be the Milley types, the top brass in the military, but enough is enough. Milley didn't serve the best interests of the men and women he commanded. Absolutely not. Neither did Mattis as a civilian. And Kelly, the worst of the bunch, usurping the commander-in-chief and then trying to destroy his re-election efforts. That's enough with these guys. That's enough. Pete Hegseth is desperately needed over there at the Pentagon. And I say this as somebody who supports the military 100%. 100%. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, have you ever thought about what charities and causes you give your hard-earned money to? Pure Talk, my cell phone company, supports veterans. As a veteran-led company, that's their passion project. And that's why Pure Talk has slashed $10 million in veteran debt. That's why they donate tens of thousands of dollars every month to help prevent veteran suicide. That's why they donate $50,000 to Micro Works, providing scholarships to veterans learning the trades after active duty. Now, isn't that a company you can get behind? Time to jump ship from these other three guys. There's a better option. Pure Talk gives you the same great coverage, America's most dependable 5G network, for half the cost. And you'll be supporting a company that is helping our vets. It's a win-win. Dial pound 250. Say keyword Mark Levin. You'll be connected to Pure Talk's U.S. call center. That's right. They invest in American jobs to better serve you. And remember, they're half the price of the big three. Go to puretalk.com/Levin today. That's puretalk.com/LEVIN. Switch to a company that invests in American jobs to better serve you. Again, go to puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company. You know, you and I, the American people, we've been through this long enough now. We know the tactics of the media and the Democrats, and in this case also the ruling class, never Trump or Republicans. We know their tactics. They're vicious and they're vile and they're underhanded. Just don't fall for them. Just don't fall for them, because what they try to do to President Trump and his nominees is what they're actually doing to us. They're trying to reverse the results of the election. At the same time they're doing these things, now they're saying there was not a landslide, that there was no mandate, and they go on and on and on. Then they pretend to be bipartisan when they're not. They're plotting right now, and they're going to plot all weekend long in Washington, D.C., in the shadows, on how to derail Pete Hegseth and these other nominees for the purpose of derailing Trump, for the purpose of derailing the outcome of the election, for the purpose of derailing what you and I voted for. This is like an under-the-radar movement. It will eventually show itself in full force. It'll eventually show itself in full force. But this is a very evil Democrat Party with very evil, conniving saboteurs. Same with the media. I have a lot of media experts. I've talked to them, wonderful people from a conservative perspective. And they believe this is the end of big media as we know it. Maybe, maybe not. These people have 9 lives. They're not going to let a little thing like a landslide election get into the way of their revolution. And the revolution, the aim of the revolution is to destroy this society, to destroy this culture, and grab power, because they're power hungry. The Democrat Party has seen it in other countries in Europe. They've seen it elsewhere. They want to be the dominant monopoly party. They want us to go through elections that are fake elections, which we can never win. That's why the border's wide open. That's why they want all these people to come in. That's why they want to end quote-unquote gerrymandering and have quote-unquote experts to determine how many congressional seats there should be. That's why under Joe Biden, the Census Bureau really gave around 7 to 9 seats that belong to Republican states to Democrat states. Oops, we made a mistake, they said. We'll fix it in 10 years. That's why you have blue states, many of them, that don't want voter ID. What kind of insanity is that? That's why you had the Department of Justice go into court and say that non-citizens should be able to vote. This is what we're up against. They're corrupt and they're evil. And yet we kicked their ass in the last election. We just have to be resolute, resolute, resolute. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Scott Turner, I don't pretend to know who that is. He's been nominated to be Secretary of HUD. Let's see. I think he has an association with Ben Carson. And just bear with me. He has worked with Trump. He's Scott Turner, named White House Opportunity Revitalization Council Executive Director. And he had that position under President Trump at his first term. He worked with HUD Secretary Ben Carson for a period of time. He served in the Texas House of Representatives. He played in the NFL from 1995 to 2004 for the Washington Redskins, the San Diego Chargers, and the Denver Broncos. Let's see here. So he will be, or he's nominated to be, the Secretary of HUD, Scott Turner. Sounds pretty good to me. Al Sharpton will be backing him 100% because he's an African-American. Don't you think, Mr. Producer? So, Al, I'm expecting you to put out a letter of endorsement, right? Right? I mean, you were worried about a black man being appointed. A black man was just appointed, so we're going to expect you to endorse Scott Turner. Well, I don't know anything about it. You didn't say that. You said you wanted a black man. He's a black man. I can promise you he's more qualified to do anything than you are. Now, just other than a demagogue, just wanted to point that out. What do you think, Mr. Producer? Isn't everybody? So there's a Chicago Teachers Union rally. Now, this Chicago Teachers Union, and this is saying something, is probably the most Marxist radical of all of them. They always shake down the parents and the students every time the contract comes up. And they strike often, and they don't just strike for massive benefit increases where they put a gun to the head of the public, the taxpayer. That's why I have a serious problem with public sector unions. I do, except for cops and firefighters and their likes, because we know that they'd get screwed. So I'm not talking about them at all. They should be protected, and they deserve their money because they put their life on the line. That's different. But the Chicago Teachers Union is always pushing this radical Marxist Islamist agenda. And they're not teaching the kids. The school district sucks. And so here they are at a rally yesterday, and there's a speaker who gets up, and she must be important because she's given the platform to speak. Hat tip X, cut 15, go.
It is time to make sure that we protect our communities and our city from the policy that is coming. I want to leave you with the words of James Baldwin. The children are always ours, every single one of them, all over the globe.
Hold on now. This Marxist claptrap. The children are always ours, every single one of them, all over the globe. You see what I mean? The parents' rights movement is a very important movement. I hope it's getting bigger and more powerful by the day, because the children and the grandchildren, depending on your age and who you are, of course, they're the target. You control the educational institutions. That is, you control the mind of the children. You control everything. If you teach kids to hate their country, then you won't have a country. The schools used to be the place where you reinforce allegiance to the nation, where you create patriotism, where you have assemblies and you have events to reinforce your patriotism for the country. It doesn't happen that much anymore. That's why a lot of parents are seeking alternatives, whether it's school choice in states that are free, whether it's religious institutions or whatever it is. Go ahead.
That whoever is incapable of recognizing this may be incapable of morality. That is who we are fighting for, CTU. From Gaza to Little Village to Altgeld and all over the country, the children are all ours, every single one of them, and it is our duty to fight for them.
See how sick this is? This is sick as it gets. And you parents out there, better keep an eye open. These people are hardcore Marxist leftists, and they're part of the Democrat Party. That's right. And they're part of these institutions, many of them in the cities, that make school choice impossible. Because you see, the children belong to them, not to the parents, not to their families. And the judgments are to be made by the teachers' union, not by the parents, not by the families. And they will determine what's in the best interest of the children, even if the kids aren't getting educated and mostly are getting indoctrinated. So that's okay. Because James Baldwin said so. There's a trans activist on TikTok, and the trans activist calls on the LGBTQ people to get guns and to threaten anyone who doesn't let men into women's bathrooms. This is the last hour, the power hour of the program, very important hour, and I'm bringing to your attention the real sickos. Although I spent 2 hours bringing you the sickos on The View and the Democrat Party, but there's more sickos. Cut 14, go.
I dare you to try and stop me from going into a women's bathroom. It will be the last mistake.
Hey, pal, let me tell you something. If I'm there and you're trying to go in a women's bathroom, I'm going to stop you. There's not a damn thing you can do to me. Got it? Making threats, especially if my wife is in there, especially if family members are in there, you better believe I'm going to stop you. You jerk. Go ahead.
I dare you to try and stop a transgender woman in my presence from using the bathroom. It will be the last mistake you ever make. This is a call to action and a call to arms to everybody within the United States that are scared, worried.
Scared and worried. You're just saying arm yourself and obviously violently attack anybody who stops you from going into a ladies' restroom. Didn't you just say that, Mr. Producer? I wonder if Christopher Wray and the FBI, Mr. McCabe, are going to track this TikTok nut job, track them down and have a conversation with them. Go ahead.
Gender, lesbian, bi, or gay, this is a call to action. You need to arm up. Plain and simple. Go out.
Arm up for what, pal? Arm up for what? You're going to shoot your way into the bathroom? You're going to shoot anybody that says, wait a minute, you don't belong in that bed? Is that it? Is that it? Go ahead.
Learn how to use it efficiently, through and through, because the time to act is now.
The time to act is now. The time to act is now. We're going to defend our right to enter a girl's or lady's bathroom. And we're going to defend it with weapons. Is that what he's saying? Well, what else is he saying? Or she, or whatever the hell. What is he, she saying? That's what he, she is saying. Now, you see, I don't know if anybody else has brought this to the world's attention. I don't know if anybody else has brought it to the world's attention and is addressing it. I can guarantee you there's not a left-wing radio program, if there are any, left-wing podcast, left-wing TV show that's going to raise this, that's going to mention anything about it. I thought it's about white supremacy. You know, the white supremacists. No. It's not. At least not here. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
President's making a lot of appointments tonight, in addition to HUD. Marty McCary, you've seen him on Fox. He's really a top, brilliant doctor. He's been nominated as FDA commissioner. That's a great one. He's nominated former Congressman Dr. David Weldon to serve as director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. President has nominated Alex Wong as assistant to the president, principal deputy national security advisor under Mike Waltz, and our buddy Dr. Sebastian Gorka, fantastic man, by the way, as deputy assistant to the president and senior director for counterterrorism. I'm telling you, what a solid national security team. President has also nominated Dr. Jeanette Nishawat. You've seen her, too. She's fantastic. As the United States Surgeon General. You know, I was thinking of trying for that position, Mr. Producer. I'm not Levine, you know, the transgender, but I am a Levin. Just kidding, folks. Let's see, what else do we have? There's more. President nominates Oregon Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer as United States Secretary of Labor. President nominated Russell Thoreau Vaught, Russ Vaught, as the Director of the United States Office of Management and Budget. I think that's a position he held before almost. He's really quite good, I'm told. Very, very good. So he's tightening down the hatch here. And I'm going to tell you something. These are really terrific nominations. I mean, absolute class of the class. It's very exciting what's going on, isn't it, America? It's very exciting. The media are flipping out, which means it's really exciting. The Democrat Party is evil. It's laying in wait to sabotage, which means it's ultra exciting. And we are going to behave a little differently with this incoming president, and we're going to challenge them. We're going to confront them. We're going to expose them in the media and the Democrat Party. I do it all the time, but we're going to double, triple, quadruple down. So the backbenchers learn how to do it, and they join us. All you podcasters out there, all 5 million of you, you too. By the way, we're growing our podcast with Hillsdale College. We've got our folks at IFCJ, and we got one more out there that we're working on. Another fantastic organization. Now, it means more work for me, but I don't even view it as work. I view it as an opportunity. Because it is an opportunity. You know, can't do this sort of thing forever. But you do it as long as you can. If you can do it well. Some people hang on forever. I won't be one of them. But there you go. GOP senator introduces bill to eliminate the U.S. Department of Education. That Department of Education was created under Jimmy Carter at the direction of the NEA and the AFT. It's a boondoggle. Everything the Department of Education does can be done elsewhere and can be done at the local level. I remember when Reagan took charge, and believe it or not, I was a principal deputy assistant secretary for elementary and secondary education under the great Lawrence Davenport, Dr. Davenport, who was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. African-American, by the way, but just so solid. We block granted huge amounts of the money that Congress had wanted us to use to, control local schools and school districts. And Reagan said, no, we're not going to do that. And Davenport said, no, we're not going to do that. We will give the funds, which they insisted on giving to us, in a block form with very, very general guidelines, but not control the districts. And that's what we did. And as somebody who was there for a brief period of time, it is an unnecessary department. We do not need that department. There's no question about it. Now, you're going to need to have Congress help you get rid of it, but that's where you're going to see the Lisa Murkowski's. Lisa Murkowski is bought and paid for by the teachers' unions. People don't realize this. They help man the precincts in Alaska. They help fund her campaigns. She's a complete sellout. She's bought and paid for. And you're going to see some Republicans just like that. They're going to say they're standing on principle when, in fact, they're standing on the throats of the students. That's the truth. We're going to try and take a few calls tonight. Mr. Producer has sent me some. We're going to try our 1931 phone system here and see how it goes. Let's go to Gabriella, Pullman, Washington, the great KFLD. Gabriella, how you be?
Oh, good. Thank you, Mr. Levin. I just wanted to call, and I've been, ever since February 2022, I've been trying to get through just to say thank you for all of the
February
support
2022?
that you have shown. Yes, I have, really. I hear you regularly dedicating a few minutes each time, at least, to talking about Ukraine, and I just want to thank you so much for that. I have... just yesterday, Lars Larson had former Ambassador Gilmore on his show, and Gilmore was crystal clear about why we need to support Ukraine, why it's important, and I just don't understand some of these conservative talk show hosts that just disparage Ukraine. Glenn Beck has called it a dirty, filthy country.
Ma'am, I don't want to attack fellow hosts, some of whom are my friend. We may have differences of opinion, but people know my opinion. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, so I just wanted to thank you because, I'm a Reagan Republican, and we just appreciate so much what President Reagan did to help free Ukraine from the Soviet shackles.
Yeah, people need to understand that Ronald Reagan destroyed the Soviet Union. The captive nations, as well as the captive elements that within the old Soviet Union, that they pulled within themselves, includes Ukraine. Ukraine used to be its own country. And I do not support just surrendering Ukraine to Russia. I think that's insane. And I do support Ukraine. I oppose the way Biden has handled this. He's given them arms, but not enough arms to truly defend themselves. He's given them money, but not in a way that is effective for them or for us. Donald Trump will put his foot down. My understanding, and I don't know this personally, but he's told the Ukrainians, do the very best you can, because when I become president, we're going to have to try and work this out. So take as much land as you can or defend as much land as you can. And I understand Zelensky's looking for an off-ramp here because, after all, he didn't attack Russia. Russia attacked them. I do not understand, ma'am, what I call the Putinoids in this country, whether they be at the left or whether they be in our party. I don't understand them. I never will understand them. He's made alliance with Iran. He's made alliance with Communist China. He's made alliance with the inbred there in North Korea. He's made alliance with all the worst elements, our enemies. I don't know why people cheer him on. I don't cheer him on at all. He's a mass murderer and he's an assassin. He's old KGB. That's exactly what he is. So that's my view. But we could have done better in the way that we handled Ukraine. And I think that Biden actually encouraged, if not provoked, Russia to invade Ukraine because of the way he handled Afghanistan. And then they lined up 130,000 troops on the border with Ukraine. And he cracked some kind of stupid joke about, hopefully they won't take too much or something like that. And he also sees Biden with the Europeans, with the pipeline, the gasoline pipeline. Trump had shut it off. And he turns it on. So they saw what they saw, which is absolute weakness, which is what the Iranians see, which is what the North Koreans see, which is what the Communist Chinese see. And now with a new president, I think this kind of insanity will come to an end. Thank you very, very much for your call. I appreciate it. 30 seconds. So we're going to take some more calls. You know why? Because the phone system's working. That's very exciting. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, an unapologetic patriot and unapologetic constitutionalist. You can reach him at 877-381-3811.
I'll tell you, I'm very, very excited about President Trump's choices. The ones I announced to you tonight that were released, they're just fantastic to a man and a woman. Absolutely fantastic. You should be very excited about this. And it's clear that President Trump and his inner circle were prepared for this election. They were prepared for winning this election, and they've hit the ground running hard. And that should give you a lot of hope as well. keep something in mind. We have a caller here that's asking a question about whether President Trump can run for re-election, Mr. Producer. Can you please pull up that caller? Karen, please. Karen in Aspen?
Hear me? Are we connected?
We are now,
yes.
Karen. How are you?
Wow. Oh, I'm ecstatically happy and very thrilled with the election results. And yes, if you were traveling through Wyoming this week, you would see a lot of flags that have been flying upside down for the last 4 years, now right side up. And it's thrilling to see that. So there's a picture to emblazon for the week of Thanksgiving. There are some discussions going on in coffee shops here that are trying to clarify the 22nd Amendment and where it would apply to Trump and whether he could run again. But a lot of people.
Well, let me help you. This issue's come up before, so it's not new for me. The answer is no. You have to be able to serve a full term as President of the United States. You don't run for 2 years. The reason it's 10 years in that amendment was to allow 2 full terms for, say, a vice president who would take over if a president died in office by natural causes or assassinated. And let's say they served a year or 2, they could run for election twice. They could run for the first election if they win, and then they could run for re-election. But no, I think it's quite clear, and people should not get into all this imaginary stuff that he can't run a second time because he's not qualified to serve a full 4-year term, and that's what's necessary. So the purpose of that 10-year under the 22nd Amendment has nothing to do with giving the president or any president an opportunity to run for 3 terms. It's 2 terms. And that was the point. 2 terms. They wanted to limit it to 2 terms, and then they started to debate over whether they should add a few more years because, let's say, it's a vice president and something happens to the president, so they made it 10 years. That's what they did. Now, if they hadn't done that, just think of that situation. Let's say that the vice president comes into power because the president, something happens to the president, maybe even resigns. And you don't have the 10-year rule, and they're there for 2 years. Well, then they could only run for 1 term. So they'd have 2 years plus the 4 years, that's 6 years. And so they wanted to limit to 2 terms, but at the same time, they wanted to provide, just in case, for a vice president who took over prior to the completion of a president's full 4-year terms. That's how it works.
Perfect. Thanks for the clarification. I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. He can hit.
And by the way, President Trump said he wouldn't run again if he, under any circumstance. He said, this is it. So even as a practical matter, this is it.
Well, we're very happy. Thanks so much, Mark. Bye now.
So am I, and I'm with you. Thank you. It's a smart call, pleasant call, I would say, Mr. Producer. All right, let's see here. I'm pulling up. I'm just thankful that the damn phones are working. And you know what? I shouldn't jinx it. You're right. Forget it. I wish they weren't. We have a lot of people calling here. That was Karen from Wyoming. Let's go to Michelle, Aspen, Colorado. What's that? Steve, Jim, Joseph, Jim. Okay, let's go to Steve, Toledo, Ohio, XM Satellite. Steve, how are you?
Oh, thank God, I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. We have something in common. We both go to Chabad. So,
yes,
I'll tell you Shabbat.
We love it. I love it.
I do too. I have 2 kids my 2 youngest children are 7 and 10. We watch Life, Liberty, and Levin every Saturday night and every Sunday night.
Thank you.
I'm giving them an education. Well, my daughter has a nickname for you. I hope you're not offended, but she calls you're the yeller.
I'm old yeller.
You're the yeller. Yeah. You're not old yeller. You are the yeller. But the kids, they sit down and watch the show with me. They are engaged. You are not only speaking to adults, but you are communicating to kids too.
Well, thank you. And you guys are going to love this weekend. Saturday, I talk about recess appointments, and I make it very intriguing. And Sunday, I talk about fairly concise fashion all the terrible things former presidents did, just to demonstrate that Donald Trump has actually been an extremely ethical, law-abiding president the first time, as he will be the second time, despite all the propaganda that he threatens liberty. So I get into that as well.
I can't wait. Can't wait.
Well, thank you.
I had a question for you, because you were by far the smart. You're not somebody I know, but you're the smartest person I've come in contact with.
Wow.
Especially on constitutional
You ought to
law.
meet my wife. She's pretty smart. Yes.
She married you. Of course she's smart.
Okay. Thank God.
Tell her that. But
yes.
my question is, it's a twofold question. I have a twofold question. The first one is that because Adam Schiff was censured by Congress when he was a congressman, can the President Senate refuse to see him as a senator?
No.
And then my second question
let me answer that one. They can't. Now, let's say Adam Schiff committed a violent crime, and he's in prison, and the people of California elected him. He'd still be a senator. Okay. Now, if they expel him for reasons provided by their own ethic requirements in the Senate, then he couldn't be a senator. But they'd have to go through that formality. You know, we've had cases where people have run for president, like Debs, who was a socialist who ran for president against Woodrow Wilson, and Woodrow Wilson used the Espionage and Sedition Acts of 1917 and 1918 to throw him literally in prison for 10 years. And Debs got 1 million votes, and if he had won the presidency, which he was never going to do, but if he had, he would have been president of the United States. So there's nothing to prevent that, but the Senate has its own rules with expulsion and so forth, and if it met that standard, I mean, he'd be elected to the Senate, that is Schiff, but if he meets the rules for expulsion, then they could expel him depending on what those rules are. What was your second point? I'm sorry.
Well, my second question, and probably you've already answered it, is that can the Senate and also the House refuse to seat representatives and senators who come from states where the governor has made the state a sanctuary state, or from districts where they represent a city that's a sanctuary city? That would really whittle down quite a few numbers in the Senate considerably. We'd have a filibuster-proof vote if we were able to do that.
I don't think senators and congressmen really want to get involved in that sort of thing, though, because there's no permanent majority of Republicans in the Senate or the House. And if the other party took over, they might create a circumstance in which they won't seat Republicans. So I suspect that you're going to need a lot more than disagreements, even legal disagreements, to be able to prevent a congressman or senator from serving because the governor is a lawless governor. You're asking very interesting questions. They're questions of first impression. But I don't think that would fly, just off the top of my head.
Okay. What can we do to get these states who are refusing to
I'll tell you what you can do, and we're going to discuss that over the weekend, too. Among other things, you can slash their federal funding. The left has used that all the time to impose really unconstitutional mandates on states, usually involving environmental rules and so forth. But absolutely now, the path has been paved where the Trump administration could say, okay, well, we're slashing all law enforcement funding, or we're slashing education funding because we don't believe we should be educating illegal aliens. We're slashing this funding and that funding, and then let the states take it to court. But I think there would be a absolutely legitimate, substantive argument for cutting them off. All right, my friend, thank you. Great questions. I'm enjoying these questions and these callers. They're fantastic. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Let's see who's left here, Mr. Producer. Is Joseph in New York there, WABC? Joseph, how are you, my friend?
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Mark, your family, and all your great workers there. Wow,
you too, brother.
The appearance of Joe Thank you. The way Joe Biden looks, his appearance, how is he going to make it another month? I mean, Joe Biden, the way he looks like everything's going to fall out at the same time. The dentures, hair plugs, and
his pants, his depends. You know, the truth is he is not at all fit to be president. He's moved from the 5th stage out of 7 stages of dementia. He's in the 6th stage. I'm certain of it. I know this stuff. I've been reading about it. And that's where he is. And he's no business being president of the United States. As much as I dislike Kamala Harris, this needs to be fixed, but it's not going to be. And so our enemies are moving as quickly as they can. They're positioning themselves. The people under Biden are pushing as many radical agenda items as they can through regulations and fiats and executive orders that they're having him sign. You can see that Schumer's putting in as many federal judges as they can. They cut some kind of deal where the circuit judges will be appointed by Trump and the district judges will be appointed by Biden. And by the way, that's probably the best deal they could get. We got to protect these appellate courts because in the end they oversee what these lower courts do. But you're 100% right. This is a massive embarrassment and humiliation. The Democrat Party and the media have done this to us, and history is going to judge us very, very poorly. They're going to look at these videos and they're going to think, what the hell was wrong with that generation of people? Thank you for your call. Excellent call, Joseph. All callers, thank you. We go to America every Friday in honor of you. Here we go. don't forget, tomorrow night, Saturday night, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Fox, Life, Liberty, and Levin. These are great shows we're doing for you, mostly because of you and the guests, but I do my best on the monologue. Set your DVRs. Always set your DVRs just in case. Life, Liberty, and Levin, 8 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, the men and women in Israel. We have your backs. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi. Good night, Smokey and Zelda and Gigi. Good night, Rory and Patton and Gigi and Barney and Indy and Marty. Good night, Dad. Good night, Mom. Good night, Leo. Good night, Joe. Good night, Bernard. Good night, Lou. All the great patriots that have gone. Good night to all of you. Have a wonderful weekend. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Life, Liberty, and Levin. I will be seeing you on Monday. Be safe, be happy, and God bless.